Are you using Cloudflare to protect your web services and websites? Did you know there's a free web application firewall that you can deploy with just a few clicks in Docker? Today I want to show you the web application firewall from SafeLine. It gives you control and resilience and protects your web apps and your websites. So what do I mean by Cloudflare protection for your web services? Well, Cloudflare not only provides DNS management, but also bot protection, DDoS protection, and many other things. But as we all know and even experienced, even a big player like Cloudflare can make mistakes. And when they do, then half of the internet is just down. That's just one more reason why self-hosting is top choice. You can keep the control over your web services and servers without being dependent on anyone else, while still having protection from bots and DDoS attacks and other forms of attacks. And I just found the right Docker setup for that. SafeLine Web Application Firewall. And today's video happen to be sponsored by SafeLine, a powerful self-hosted web application firewall designed to protect your apps from common attacks like SQL injection, XSS, bots, and more. Unlike cloud-only solutions, SafeLine runs in Docker on your infrastructure, giving you full control over your data and security policies. Here are some of the key features of SafeLine. A Docker-ready deployment for a really quick setup, and you will see how quick in just a minute. An intuitive web UI for managing rules and monitoring traffic. Advanced protection against OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities, HTTP flood DDoS protection, and identity and access management. And it works like this. SafeLine sits in front of your server of your application, and legitimate users can access it through the internet, and attackers who get filtered by the web application firewall but then get blocked, while the users have full access. So if you're serious about security and want independence from third-party outages, SafeLine is worth checking out, and you will find all the links to SafeLine in the description down below. And I for one will definitely deploy SafeLine on each and every single service of mine. Let's start with the setup. I'll use Docker Compose because it's the easiest way to get SafeLine running. Let's follow their documentation. I already have Docker installed, so I'm going to skip this and start with creating a new directory. So let's enter make directory docker SafeLine, and then change into it with cd docker SafeLine. And as always in my videos, you will find every command for download in the description down below. The next step is to download the latest Docker Compose file from SafeLine. So we can copy this command and paste it in our command line. And just like that, it got downloaded. And if we check our directory now, we have this compose.yaml. Should we peek into it? Why not? There are a lot of services in here, database, some additional containers, SafeLine container, and a lot of stuff configured in here. The next step in the documentation is to create an .env file for some environment variables. And then we have those variables in here. I'm going to copy them already and then do vim.env. You can use nano if you like, and paste this in here. What we need to change here are two things. The password for the database, let's use secure password 123 for example, and also the data directory because I changed mine into Docker SafeLine. And then let's save this. And in the documentation you will find some more details to those environment variables, but for most cases those default ones will be fine. And that's all we have to do in the command line. So the next step is to run the Docker containers with Docker Compose up-d, and now it will be pulling all those images for those different containers and start deploying them. And just like that, it's done. We can check it with Docker PS if everything is up and running, but it looks good. Everything is up, nothing is restarting, so that's absolutely fine. And now that the Docker containers are running, the next step is to go into our browser, enter the IP address of our server with port 94403. Don't forget to open up the port 94403 on your server if you haven't done already. And then first time you will get this little warning here, but it will be okay for now. And then we're going to handle that later on. Let's accept the software license agreement. It's all free. And then we are already in the login, but we don't have a username and a password yet. So let's check the documentation for that again. We need to go into the command line and run this docker exec command. Let's copy this and then let's paste it in our command line. I kind of lied to you earlier. This is the last command that we need to enter in the command line. So let's run this. What this does is it will reset the admin. So it will give you the initial username, in my case admin, in your case as well. And then it will give us a password. So let's copy that one and enter those credentials in the login page. And then we are in. It looks absolutely stunning and beautiful, in my opinion. And before we do anything, we go to settings and there we will change our admin password. You'll find it here in management. There you have your admin account. You can edit this and then enter a new password. You can even enable TOTP for two-factor authentication. But now we still have this warning up here and I don't like that very much. So let's change that. So let's go to settings again, then management. In here we will find SSL cert for SafeLine Web Console. We don't have one, or there is one default one, but it's not in our local certificate storage. So we will add a new one. And here we can do SSL cert. We can add a cert. You can either upload the contents of your cert file or we can get a free one. It will use Let's Encrypt like always in my videos. You just need to have a subdomain, in my case safeline.thesysAdminHub.com, and then also enter an email address, but that's not for SafeLine, that's for Let's Encrypt. They always need an email address so they can send you notifications when your certificate is about to run out and stuff like that. So let's submit this. And here I encountered an error, TCP bind AT, I'll show it to you again, TCP AT bind address already in use, because I still have my Nginx reverse proxy running on that server, which is also listening to port 80 and port 443, which is not working because SafeLine also needs port 80 for those Let's Encrypt certificates and also needs to listen to port 443 because SafeLine will replace the reverse proxy. So let's stop our Nginx instance first and then it will be working. And the command for that is just systemctl stop Nginx. And it also works with Apache if you're using Apache as a web server or any other web server there is. Just stop that service. And don't worry, you can always start it again with start and then the name of the service, in my case Nginx. Then it will be starting again, but I want mine to be stopped. So now let's try to request that certificate again. Now we don't get an error, so I guess it is working right now. We don't see that like we usually do in the console, but it's requesting the certificate. It's checking if this subdomain is pointing to the IP address of that server. In my case, it is because I'm setting the DNS records myself. It took about 1 or not even close to 2 minutes for me, but now the certificate is here. It says here it's a free certificate, like always with Let's Encrypt, for this subdomain issuer R13. That's typical for Let's Encrypt, and it's valid for 3 months, but it will auto-renew always. But if not, you can still hit certificate renewal here, and then you get a brand new certificate, which also means that SafeLine is not only your reverse proxy, it's also where you manage and request your SSL certificates, which is really cool in my opinion. So now if we go back to settings, management, we see SSL cert for SafeLine Web Console. We can choose here ID number 1, in my case, safeline.thesysAdminHub.com. We can save this. And now we can use that subdomain. So in my case, safeline.thesysAdminHub.com, but it won't be working because we need the port 9443. So let's add that here, 9443. And just like that, it's showing us HTTPS, and it also shows us that the connection is secure and that we have a valid certificate for this subdomain. So let's log in again. So now we are back in the dashboard and it shows us query per seconds, request status, blocking status. It's all to 0 because why? I already have services running on that server, but nothing is going through SafeLine yet. So we need to define some applications for that. So let's go to applications, and here we see all the applications. Right now there is none for me, so we can add one, and then we need to specify the domain. the ports 80 and 443 are default ports, so that's okay. We need to add a new certificate for that because it will be a different subdomain, and then have it as reverse proxy. And we can already do this here, HTTP localhost : and then specify the port of our Docker container in there. Let's try with this Sono password manager, which runs on port 10200. So we add that port in here, and then the domain is sono.sysadminhub.com, I believe. And then we don't have a certificate for that, so we add a new certificate. It opens up a new tab, and in here we have the certificates, and then I'm just going to request another one, just like earlier. Just keep in mind to always spell everything correctly, and that those subdomains are really pointing to the IP address of the SafeLine server. And you can even do a multi-domain certificate. You can just add more subdomains to this input field here. Okay, it is done again. And I just noticed it even shows you on what application that certificate is used. So this one is on console and this one is not used yet. So we can close this tab and then choose our new certificate. And then we can do Sono password manager. We can give it a name. So let's submit this, and then we've added this. Let's try out this URL. And just like expected, it is working. So let's go back to SafeLine. Now that we have our Sono password manager application in here, what can we do with it? So in here we can add bot protection. We can activate the anti-bot challenge, and then the challenge session duration for 1 hour. You can set it to 2 hours. Oh, you can't. You need your license upgrade, but 1 hour is already fine. You can also add some challenge conditions, like for example, you want to challenge if the source IP equals special IP, or you can skip the challenge if the source IP equals like your IP, for example. You can add an AND condition and stuff like that, but I don't need this. And let's also do the HTML dynamic encryption, and then let's save it. You can see it here, it's updated right now. We can also do the HTTP flood, which is basically a waiting room. So it means 3 people, according to those sessions, can access that website or web service at the same time, and then up to 5 people can be in a waiting room. So this is your DDoS protection. If you have a pro license, then you can change those numbers. So now if we go to our password manager and refresh it, we get this really nice screen with client verifying this is the bot protection. And once it's verified that you're not a bot, you will get redirected. We can refresh it again, and then dynamic decrypting, same screen or similar screen. And if we do it again, now we're authenticated, or we're not authenticated, but we did those bot protection stuff. So now it's lasting for at least 1 hour. You can also set for each and every application, right now it's set to defense mode, so attacks will be blocked. You can also set it to audited mode, so it will only be recorded without blocking, or offline mode if you want to take that service down, maybe temporarily or forever. So all users will be blocked. Let's try that out for fun. Let's save this, go back to password manager tab, and then Control F5, and it says the website is offline. We should visit later. Let's activate it again, refresh the page, and now it's working just like that. Let's add another service to our SafeLine so it won't look that lonely in there here anymore. Because I also have my Uptime Kuma in here, which runs on port 3001. So same thing again, we add application, then specify the domain. 80 and 443 at ports are already set. Then let's do our new domain, subdomain here, reverse proxy, and have it as localhost : 3001, and give it a name, and then submit it. And it is already done. Let's test it out. And it is working. I don't know my username and password here anymore. And now you see we have a second one in here. You always see those little icons here. And then let's also do the bot protection, because why not? I forgot the HTML dynamic encryption and then the HTTP flood. Let's activate this as well, because those are services that I only use myself. And then here you can already see how many requests and how many are blocked. And now if we go to our main dashboard and statistics again, we have some more data in here. We have query per seconds, we have request status, and we also have a geolocation, which is all for me by the time right now, because it's just up and running for like 10 minutes. What if I do 2D? It highlights here Germany, because I'm located in Germany. You can see where all the requests are from that are using your services or visiting your website. But let's go back to applications once more, because we have a advanced tab in here. And what we can do here is we can enable HTTP2, which is really nice. We can enable redirect HTTP to HTTPS, so no one can even try to access this with port 80. We can even enable HSTS. That setting will force the browser to use HTTPS to communicate, which will just add another layer of protection to your server. And you can tick those settings on and off just like that. You can, I believe, even access the SafeLine dashboard from your phone wherever you are, and then just tick it on and off if needed. So let's check if those are still working, and it seems like it. And also our uptime Kuma, let's try it. Verification complete, dynamic decryption, just all layers of security and still working. How nice is that? SafeLine already provides a ton of features in their free license, but some features you need to have a paid license, just like the data dashboard, for example. Please upgrade to Pro Edition. Good thing that SafeLine provided me with a free 7-day license for that. Let's try it out. So let's do upgrade license and then enter the code, activate it. It will upgrade my license. Let's see what's happening here. And now we are in SafeLine Pro and we have 7 days until it expires. So let's see that data dashboard. Let's start this. Not that much, I guess, because it is just running recently, for me at least, on my server. But I believe you can see those attacks that are happening on your server. All right, I found something here in the documentation. We can try out a SQL injection. Even though the service doesn't use SQL Server, we can still try it out. Let's go to my uptime Kuma here and enter this behind the URL, and then SafeLine says access forbidden. Let's see if we can see that here in the dashboard. Unfortunately not. Let's go back to the main SafeLine, and then here we can see something has appeared on the block rate. The blocking status has gone up. Oh, we have those activated right now. The response status, the user clients. I believe it's showing you what browser your users are using and stuff like that. Let's click more here. In here we have nothing yet. Maybe it takes some time to update this data. We can also go to the attacks tab, and then here you can see the attacks that has been happening. For example, the SQL injection here, the attack count is 1 and it's all documented in here. Nice. And just like I theorized earlier, if we go to applications, go to HTTP flood, now we can up those numbers. We can do 150 users at the same time and then have 100 in the waiting room, for example. If you have a really busy homepage or even busier, then let's add a 0 to that. And then let's save it. Oh, this can only be 30. All right, then this can only be 30 then. Do we have something additional in here? Doesn't look like it from what I can remember. In here it looks like it is the same. And I just went to the anti-bot tab here, and you can see those ones down here that are okay are mine. Those are my IP address from Germany. I will block that out, but it's my IP address. But those two on top here are from the United States and they are still processing. So it seems like someone is really trying to enter my web services and they have been verified. So that's nice. You can see that there is some traffic actually happening here. I can't see them yet here, but again, it might take some time until it's updated here, but it's really nice that you can see that. You even have a allow and deny list. You can put IP addresses on the allow list or block IP addresses if you have an IP that's really bothering you. And if you're wondering what that authentication is for, you have this auth menu here where you can do settings, and then you can add users with a username and password and email and even a phone number. You can enforce two-factor authentication, and then they have to log in first. They will be shown a login page, and only if a authenticated user in SafeLine, they will be redirected to the service itself, for example, the password manager or the Uptime Kuma or stuff like that. Why is this still red? Oh, because of the SQL injection here. Let's remove this and then it will be working again. So my honest opinion about SafeLine, and I kid you not, I only discovered it a few days ago and I tried it out on a test server once, and now here for this video on another test server, and I am blown away. I will definitely use this on every single server that I have and on every single service that I have. And I even have this plan in my head, like I want to add a new small server, like 1 CPU and 2 gigabytes of RAM would be sufficient, I think, in the beginning, to only have for SafeLine, then have every subdomain of mine pointing to that SafeLine server, and then have this server as my dedicated reverse proxy, which will forward it to another IP address or even on localhost or wherever, which will be another layer of protection for my other servers. I will need to open those ports on those other servers, those Docker ports, but I can set it that only the SafeLine IP address can access it, and then this might work, I guess. Because that way I have one central point with SafeLine to handle my SSL certificates, my reverse proxy settings and everything, and all with one nice dashboard and all those features, those safety features. And I will probably only using a free license. I don't need a pro license for that. Not yet, I guess. By the way, here you can see the access from the United States earlier. So now it's showing up here too. And on the attacks, yeah, those are all from me. And from, where is it? Not here, anti-bot. Yeah, those are fine. If you want a video of me moving all my services into this one SafeLine instance, then like and share this video and don't forget to subscribe. It really helps out small channels like mine. Thank you for your support. And also a big thanks again to SafeLine for sponsoring this video and supporting open and self-hosted security solutions. If you want to try out SafeLine, check out the links in the description. They have a really good documentation and a super easy deployment, and even a Discord channel for us SafeLine fans. That's it, SafeLine is deployed and keeping our server safe and sound. I really enjoy that extra layer of protection, as well as being able to check that dashboard at any time. Will you use SafeLine as well? Tell me in the comments, and until then, see you next time.